Fighting off cancer once is a big deal, but what about when it comes back and you have to fight it a second time? Today's story is about a cancer survivor who found something that made all the difference in her second fight with cancer and led to her ultimately being cancer-free. Hi, I'm Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media and host of What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of an Ape podcast. And I'm excited to share this conversation with you today about being strong, healthy, and vibrant in your retirement years and how you can start that now, start that as a kid, start that anytime, because your body is what is actually healing itself. We are also going to share lots of resources, so be sure to check the show notes. Today on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, I have Dr. Rob Landriault. He practices in Ontario, and he loves to teach about the principles and the science of chiropractic to his patients and community. So thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Looking forward to it.
Well, I love to, we talked about, and you had said when we talked about doing this podcast that you love to help those who are close to retirement and those that are already retired, which I love. I love this idea that we can live well at every age. So I'd love for you to tell us a story about how chiropractic has helped someone in that age range to improve their life.
Yeah. So, throughout my career, I've seen a lot of different cases, but, 22 years in practice, I've really just gravitated towards and have a really deep love for helping people, as they're getting closer to retirement, with a lifetime full of practice. Well, 22 years of practice, we see it way too often. People retire and then they get very sick and they just can't enjoy, right, the fruits of their labor. So case that comes to mind in my office is a lady called Nancy, right? Who, she started in my practice probably 13 years ago.
Yeah.
She was close to retirement as well, and she was a nurse, right? And, I know she had a bout with cancer prior to starting to see me, and she just really gravitated towards the principles of chiropractic. She came to all her workshops, and she brought her whole family in to get under regular care. And then she ended up getting another bout of cancer, right? And really attributes her success to beating cancer a second time with chiropractic, right? And so it was always, it's a fun case, and she's still a practice member now, even though now she is retired, and she just can't talk enough about chiropractic and how it helped support her on her healing journey. So
I love that. I love too that she was in healthcare, that she understands the body in a different way than other professions would, and saw the value of that.
Yeah. Well, and I think what gravitated with her was already having done the first cancer treatment without chiropractic and how difficult that was, she was saying, but with chiropractic and understanding how her body is designed to heal and how the body, right, functions optimally through a better expression of its nervous system, right, really gravitated with her. And she really noticed a big improvement in her recovery and that second journey that she had. And it was really interesting. Like the second time that she had the cancer, obviously being a patient in our office, she had really relied on us being almost like her primary care physician. So I vividly remember she wanted the oncologist to send the results of her post chemo to our office. So I would be the one to read the report and let her know if how everything was. So I had the pleasure to be able to call her on a Thursday evening after I was done with patients and let her know that she was cancer free. So she was quite happy with that. So
wow. Well, I think that also speaks to just the love and the care that you put into that relationship, that someone's nervous system feels so safe with you that they would rather hear it from you either way.
Yeah. So we had always had like good conversations. And then being a nurse, she would sometimes gravitate towards the medical side, and I would have to swing back and say, Nancy, that's not my sandbox. This is what right? That your body will just heal more efficiently with a properly functioning nervous system. And we did a lot of upper cervical work with her and post scans, and it was a great journey for her. And she was very, very happy.
Yeah. So that brings up a great question that I think people don't always understand of what makes chiropractic different. I know people say, oh, there's kinesiologists, there's physical therapists, there's all of these people who do all of these different things. But how do you explain it? What makes chiropractic different?
I've always kind of, talked to my patients and right about the inside out model of chiropractic care, right? Above, down, inside out. And I think that is what makes chiropractic unique than any other healthcare profession, right? So regardless if it's a physio or a naturopath, it's still outside in, right? I think a lot of people think because they're taking supplements or they're taking their vitamins it's an inside out approach, and it's not. It's still an outside in approach. I think that's what makes chiropractic so unique is our above down inside out principle, and putting way more faith in the body's ability to heal itself than anything else. So in today's modern world, I think for most patients that's just refreshing to hear that there's doctors that are there that have more faith in their body's own ability to heal itself than treatments or drugs or anything like that.
Yeah. So if somebody has never heard above, down, inside out, what does that mean? How do you explain that?
I would just explain it, as a new patient, right? We always, on their first, second visit, we try to start that process of gently trying to help them understand how their body functions and heals. So, once we do the consultation and we understand why they're primarily here and what their goals and objectives are, and when we start telling them the chiropractic story. And I always tell my patients, I said, there's a couple of key things you need to understand to be a great chiropractic patient here in this office. Number one is you're designed to be healthy. And number two, your smart body has an amazing ability to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
One of the examples I love to use is surgery, for example. I said surgeons do great work. However, if your body can't heal itself, surgeons have a 0% success rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I find that just kind of makes patients really they figure it out quite quickly, saying, well, yeah, it's your body that will heal. The surgeon has a certain job to do, but ultimately your body's innate ability to heal itself is what's critical. And I'm a doctor that focuses on that part.
Yeah. I love that because it's true. We think about like you get stitches and the sutures are just there to hold it, but they're not going to heal it. And you can't have stitches there forever. Those two pieces of tissue have to join together, have to make scar tissue, have to make a scab, whatever, because you can't live just with stitches holding you together.
Yeah. Right. So I always tell them that's my job is to make sure that your body, that's specifically your nervous system, right, which is the system that coordinates all the healing in your body, is communicating and functioning to the best of its abilities.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm curious, what brought you into chiropractic? How did you get here?
I was fortunate enough to live in a community where Dr. Tom Preston is a chiropractor here, and he started seeing me at a very young age at 14. And as an athlete, I was having a lot of issues. Growing up, I had a lot of learning issues as well, right? And from a few concussions that I'd had through sports. And then what brought me in to see Tom, Dr. Preston, was quite a significant low back issue, which really hindered my athletic performance. So he started getting me adjusted. And I found right early on that things were starting to change, not just in my low back, but my focus, my concentration was better and stuff like that. So I was pretty fortunate to be exposed to a very principled chiropractor, right, that maintained my nervous system for a very, very long time and still to this day. So,
I love that.
yeah.
I have a 15-year-old son. And so thinking about like if my son was having, like you said, significant low back pain at that age, it would be a concern. And to think about, wow, if this is starting now or concussions, as a mother, I still have this perspective of, that was such hard work to be pregnant with you. And even though that innate intelligence is what was actually bringing all of those cells together, to think about that precious brain and, even just all of the things that we do as parents to set kids up for a strong foundation of a healthy brain, of a strong body and things. And to see at that moment, like a concussion, a traumatic brain injury of any size. That son did have a concussion. We were at the zoo. He was maybe 6 or 7, and he sat down on one of the bronze statues of a lion. And of course, a lot of kids have done that. And so it was very slippery. And so it wasn't even in sports where you're thinking, okay, you should have a helmet on. You should, be protected in some way. No, just a 6-year-old on a statue slides off, hits his head pretty significantly and had a concussion from that. And even just to see chiropractic care pretty quickly after that. I can't remember exactly how we did that, but to have him checked to say, hey, we just want to make sure that your body can heal and recover from this fully.
Sure.
That is, I think as a mom, a concussion is pretty high up on my list of don't do that.
Yeah. Well, we've come a long way with understanding that. My incidents, growing up in the 70s, we didn't have a big understanding of concussions back then, right? And same thing as your son, my 2 concussions were not even sport induced. My parents thought it would be a good idea to put a bike next to my bed on my birthday, right? So I would up, right? And so I think I was 3 or 4 with this tricycle, and I just got on it and I drove down the stairs, and that was my concussion. My second one was falling off the kitchen counter, hitting my head. That was my second one. So, but back then we didn't know anything. So
yeah. Well, and it does bring up just all of the different traumas that just happen in life that,
Mhm.
we talk about physical traumas like a concussion. We talk about
Yep.
chemical stressors, chemical trauma. One of my favorite ones, even with friends, is just to say dehydration. I grew up in the 80s, never took a drink of water, pretty much, I think. Um, and so realizing how much of an effect that is as a chemical stressor to be dehydrated to any degree. And then just the emotional stressors and traumas. I go back to your story of the nurse and how all of that compounds, however, her childhood was, her teenage years, then just her career as a nurse. That can be a
Mhm.
lot of mental stress and a lot of mental load as you're caring for other people. And all of that compounding then into, when you get to retirement age.
Yeah, right. And if I go back and think of Nancy's story, there was multiple traumas, right, throughout her career and car accidents, and then the stress of, raising a family and being a working mom, right, being a nurse, right, all that stress. And, one of the reasons that we chose upper cervical care with her is because she was just so sensitive throughout the thoracic spine. She just had a hard down because I think part of it was, the first cancer, there was some surgery involved. And so that's what gravitated towards that. So, there's high levels of stress associated with a lot of these cases too. So, right.
Yeah.
That's why I like working with that age group, as you just start unlayering all these layers, right? And you see these dramatic changes, right? And that's what I tell these patients that still come into the office, that, my goal, right, with my community is making sure that, as you're retired, that you're staying strong, healthy, and vibrant. We don't want to see you get sick. We don't want to see you start going in and out of hospitals, taking different medications. We want to keep you strong, healthy, and vibrant. Right? And that doesn't mean something might not happen down the road, but if you're in a stronger, healthier state, you're going to get much better results.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that that is so true. I think a lot of people, as they're coming to a chiropractor for the first time, maybe it's because they have some pain or some issue. But I frequently hear clients say that patients ask, what happened? Like, I didn't do anything. I was just doing basic yard work. I wasn't lifting anything. I didn't do anything. I don't know, why did this happen or when did this happen? So I love that you spoke about layers of, understanding all of this compounding effect. And wouldn't it be great if everybody started, even starting as a 50-year-old, when things are just starting to be
Mhm.
problematic, or
Yeah,
starting as a 40-year-old before they're actually problematic, or like you said, starting as a 14-year-old, where you
yeah,
can really, even as this kid is still developing and growing and not even quite their full height yet.
yeah, yeah. So I'm pretty lucky in my office where we have another chiropractor in our office, and she does all the pediatric work. So she specializes in that, does all the pregnant moms and the babies. I do all the seniors and the people my age, 50s and older, right? So we have a good combination there. So I usually pass on the babies to Dr. Preston, right? Who is my
Yeah.
my Dr. Tom Preston's daughter, who works in our office. So
How fun is that?
that's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I love to see that, like, there's such a great dynamic, even when I take my four kids and my husband, and we're all going in to get adjusted. Even there's a different tone to our ride home.
Yeah.
Even I get in the car and I'm like, guys, I'm going to need a minute. I'm just going to sit here happy. But, I think about how many offices have, multiple generations like
Hmm.
that, and what a good thing that is.
For example, her daughters, she brought in her daughters and her husband, and
Hmm.
right off the get go when she started, now her one daughter has a baby, and her other daughter is pregnant, and Dr. Preston's actually seeing the baby and the daughters that are under care with her. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There is really no better testimonial than seeing someone that you love, someone in your family. Like you
Hmm.
said, two bouts of cancer. I can only imagine going through that and seeing your mom,
Hmm.
seeing your grandma going through that, even, and then seeing like what a shift, what a change. There's no better testimonial than saying, this is what is helping, this is what is working, and then wanting that for ourselves and saying, oh boy, maybe I should start that in my 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a true testament of how patients really understand the chiropractic principles when they start referring family members in, right? So,
Yes. Well, and I love too that so many chiropractors have that family model of, this is what I would recommend for my mom. This is
yeah.
what I would recommend for my kid. It is such a great model of having a principled life where you as a doctor are wanting to also have a healthy, happy, vibrant life. And so you're recommending what you would personally want.
Yes, right. And that's conversations that I have because both my parents, lucky, are still alive and they're still getting adjusted. So it's conversations I can actually have with someone like Nancy, right? For example, saying, listen, if you were my mom, this is what I would be doing.
Hmm. Hmm. So I'm curious, do you have people who, even if they are a little bit older, who've never been adjusted, who are really nervous about it? And they're like, this seems a little woo-woo, this seems a little far out there. I'm not so sure about this, but my daughter said I should come. What are the conversations that you have there?
Doesn't happen very often, right?
Okay.
I find most in that age group have, and we talk about this in our office. I think most of that age group have had a chiropractic experience in the past, and it might not have been the best chiropractic experience.
Okay.
So I think they're a little bit more, they've heard how we operate and, how we do a scan and how we take x-rays and how we do a very thorough assessment before even touching anybody. And that really instills a lot of confidence in them.
Hmm.
They might have gone to another office where they did not get an assessment and explained the procedures that were going to be done and kind of left a little right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find that happens more often than not, right? We do get some moms or that try to get their parents in, and we have different strategies for that with regards to some different, articles that we have in the office or referral cards that we'll hand in that we'll give them saying, hey, you know what? I know you've mentioned that your mom wants to come in a couple of times, but she's hesitant. Here's a referral card that you can use to get her to come in, right? We'll do just a complimentary scan, right? I think that's the big one is when we say that we're not going to adjust anybody on the first visit, we're just going to do an assessment to see if there's anything that we can do to help, right? That kind of brings people in a little bit easier because now they know that there might not be, right? They're just getting checked and then they want to see what's going on, right?
I love that because I think some chiropractors who I've talked to have felt like, well, if I'm not adjusting them on the first day, I'm not providing enough value, right?
Yeah.
So I love the confidence of saying this is a positive thing and we make it a positive thing of saying you can have your assessment and be checked and we're going to evaluate what you need on this
Mhm.
first appointment and having that be something that just is said with so much confidence too.
Yeah, right. And that's one of the common things that we hear in our office of how people love our assessment, right? And at the end of the assessment, we'll just say, listen, we're going to book you in for your next appointment, right? This will give us the opportunity to review all your exam findings, right? And from there, then I'll be in a much better position to let you know, right? If you have subluxations and how we can help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that goes a long way.
Love that. Well, I'm curious. Some of you are clearly passionate about this, clearly love to dig into it. What are some of your favorite things to grow as a chiropractor? What would you recommend to other chiropractors, tools or books or places where they can grow in all of this? Because you've mentioned a lot of the principle, the philosophy, the science of it with your assessments and things. So, where do you love to grow?
I love growing. One of the seminars that I go to, or two that's hosted twice a year here in Canada, is Pure and Powerful, which is our version of Dynamic Essentials, hosted by Pete Amlinger. So that's on my list of seminars to go grow and connect with principled chiropractors. I love reading the green books, right? And I'll review those on a constant, regular basis. I just signed up to Simon Senzon's The Institute Chiropractic, right? I'm really, really enjoying that, which is very principle based and a lot of history. I like my own purpose, right? So I listen to that. Heidi Havoc's work, I enjoy, her stuff and to read more of the sciencey stuff. But those are probably the big ones, right? That
I
I
love that.
I got to go through and, mentoring in the past, right? I'm still friends with Tom Preston. So, I can bend his ear once in a while. I do a lot of workshops with his group, the Full Circle Chiropractic group, which is really, really good for principled chiropractic. I really enjoy his work as well. So Stephen Franson I worked with as well from the Remarkable Practice. He was really instrumental in helping us in our office be more streamlined with our exam and our policies and our procedures, really helped us clean that up and improve our communication skills. So those are kind of the big ones that I kind of rotate through. Yeah.
Great. Those are really great resources. I'll put those notes in the show notes as well. I love that you have such a rich resource list of different things for different areas because, there's the poem, No Man is an Island. And
Yeah.
yet I think sometimes we feel like that and we're like, wow, I've got to reinvent the wheel and figure out how to do all of these things. And it's just not quite that way when
Yeah.
there are so many people, even like you said, books where no, we can't go speak to BJ Palmer anymore. But what a beautiful thing to have a book where they
Mm.
took out their thoughts in a really magical way and put it down on paper and that can be reproduced. That never fails to amaze me.
Yeah, yeah. My brain is just always wanting to learn, and it's pretty busy up there in my brain. So I don't like not learning stuff, and I'm always trying to get better. And if I have a patient that's not responding to their chiropractic care as well as I would think, then I love leaning on some colleagues. Like I'll call Dr.
Mhm.
I'll call Dr. Tom Preston. I'll like, what do you guys think? What do you think? What's going on? Right? We'll review the x-rays, right? Get some insight. I love that collaborative approach to helping. And I'm very, very results driven. And I love helping my patients get the best chiropractic experience that they can possibly have.
I love that because I think that sometimes patients are concerned that their results are going to be kind of dismissed, like, well, I don't know, like your body is either going to heal or it's not. And so for them to know that, no, we want to dial this in.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the beauty of the word adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
I had some other writers, I was trying to name a course that I was doing, and they said, well, I don't know if you want to use the word adjustment because the writers said it sounds too small. It sounds like you're not making a massive change, a massive transformation. You're just going to tweak, you're just going to adjust. And I was like, that's the most powerful thing is yes, we're still doing what can seem like the same thing, possibly, but dialed in tiny adjustments make
Yep.
all the difference.
Yeah.
What a cool thing. What a cool concept.
Yeah, for sure. 100%, right? I mean, when you tell patients that, the adjustment is going to remove an interference, now their body starts to do the healing, right? So that's my job. I'm just a facilitator. I'm just flipping switches, right? But your body does all the healing. So, right, I really don't like it when patients give me credit for their results, right? And I'll always bring it back to no, right? That's how intelligent your smart body is. It's your body did all the healing, right? So that's a
Beautiful.
powerful tool, powerful tool.
Wonderful. Well,
Yeah.
I think we could keep going for a long time, but thank you for sharing today. And thank you for all that you do. It is always great to connect with doctors all over the place and definitely doctors from Pure and Powerful. I love to reconnect with you. So thanks for sharing today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. And thank you for what you do for helping our profession.
It is my pleasure.
There we go.